With 12 different winners in the last 12 years, the Hell of the North is still just as hard to tame. Welcome to Paris-Roubaix. This year, again for the 121st edition, it's difficult to predict who will take this monument. The route is epic, and today the weather conditions could play a big role. Amongst all this, one name stands out: Mathieu van der Poel. The world champion won in 23 and would dearly love to clinch victory in the velodrome wearing the rainbow jersey to emulate Lotte Kopecky, winner of Saturday's women's race.
Oui, on a été déjà dans cette situation plusieurs fois, je pense à Flandre aussi, et on a bien géré. Donc, c'est à nous et à notre équipe de garder le contrôle, mais je pense qu'on est très détendu aussi. On a déjà eu une saison exceptionnelle, donc il y a aussi, c'est aussi à eux de faire la course.
In his team is another rider who has tasted glory recently, sprinter Jasper Philipsen, second in Roubaix last year and winner of Milan-San Remo. A perfect plan B. Two assets in a team makes for a big advantage.
Yeah, let's hope we get both into the final and we can play our cards. Like last year was a really great race for us, but of course this year is different. And I just hope to get in the final with good legs tomorrow, and I'm looking forward for a nice race.
Behind them are outsiders, including the man in form at the start of the season, Mads Pedersen, despite his recent fall. Our young Lawrence Pithy, the New Zealander from Groupama FDJ, will be well supported by Stefan Kung, unless it's the other way round.
We've got Stefan. He's had two really good results here in the last 2 years, with fifth last year and third the year before. So yeah, I think we'll be all in for him, but it will be good to have some cards to play in the final, especially with the strong teams here and Van der Poel. He's going to be hard to beat, so we need to have numbers.
I love this race. It's for me, it's one of the best races in the calendar. It's a bit of a love-hate relationship. You know, I only did one time really good here, but the race in general it speaks to me. The body healed off from the crash in Drastel Flanders, so I'm ready.
After leaving the start in Compiègne with 259.7 kilometres in front of them, the riders will complete 96 kilometres before the first sector, number 29, the Trois-Villes sector in Anchy. 29 unpaved roads for a total of 55.7 kilometres. Hostilities traditionally began in the Wallers Forest, followed this year by the much discussed chicane created to avoid a full speed charge into the start of the feared Arenberg Trench. Then around Mons-en-Pévèle and the Carrefour de l'Arbre, less than 20 kilometres from the finish, there will be significant traps and also opportunities to attack for the strong men of the peloton before heading towards Roubaix and its famous velodrome. It's a quick start as the riders complete almost 54 kilometres in the first hour of racing. With the wind at their backs, the riders take the opportunity to spin their legs and get into a good rhythm. 7 riders took control at the front. Per Strand Hagenes for Visma Lease Bike is in this group, along with Rasmus Tiller, Kasper Askreen, Marco Haller, Liam Slock, Gleb Syriza and Kamil Maletsky. Several teams, which perhaps do not have too much chance of being present in the final, try to anticipate. Dusan Rajovic of Bahrain Victorious and Decathlon's AG Tour Dries de Bont set off in pursuit. A fall in the peloton put several big names in difficulty, including Tim Merlier, Niels Pollitt, Alberto Bettiol and Jonathan Milan, but also Elia Viviani, who was forced to abandon. The lead group extended their advantage a little over the peloton, while the interlopers were still fighting to join the 7 up front. The gap is around 1 minute and 30 seconds between the first group and the peloton, with the two chasers 30 seconds from the lead. At kilometre 80, the junction is made and now there are 9 out front, but the lead does not exceed 90 seconds. The riders finally face the first 2 sectors. The leaders lose around 20 seconds of their advantage, and so begins a race of elimination from the rear of the peloton, notably for Christophe Laporte, the European champion. In the group of favourites, the Alpecin de Koning and the Lidl Trek teams lead the train in pursuit. In the break, the first to crack is Syriza from the Astana team, who is dropped before sector 27. It's the longest sector of the race at 3.7 kilometres, which allows the peloton to get a little closer to the leading men. The leaders were still averaging more than 52 kilometres per hour after 2 hours of racing. At the exit of this sector, the gap fell below 45 seconds. The peloton is very stretched and there are around 50 riders left in the big group. 140 kilometres from the finish before sector 24 the breakaway is over and the race is settled. There are around 30 at the front among the favourites. A group including Laporte, Merlier and Alberto Bettiol is more than 1 minute and 30 seconds behind the leaders, but still strong. Some riders, like Tom Pidcock, are feeling the pace. And after sectors 23 to 21, the second peloton is more than 2 minutes behind. The Wallers Forest is the next hotspot of the day. Entering the final 100 kilometres, there are still around 30 in front before negotiating the chicane at the entrance to the Arenberg Trench.
Who is going to get through here? Is there going to be an almighty crash? Pidcock comes up on the right-hand side, over the tram lines, right-hand turn. Pidcock gets through in 4th place. Van der Poel is in about 7th. And look at the way that everybody is desperately trying to get there.
But you come to a standstill.
Total standstill round that corner. Van der Poel comes out in 4th. Philipsen in 3rd. Pidcock in 5th.
At the end of this crucial sector, Mathieu van der Poel makes a smooth acceleration and comes out alone in front of 3 men, his teammate Philipsen, Tim van Dijk and Mads Pedersen. The leading men join up before Philipsen and Pedersen hit problems, 2 punctures which will change the character of the front of the race. It's a moment chosen by Gianni Vermeersch, Stefan Kung and Niels Pollitt to accelerate. These 3 enter sector 17 at Ornang with more than 30 seconds advantage on the other favourites. We're in the final 80 kilometres. A group of 25 forms behind the leading trio and catches up with the fugitives 68 kilometres from the finish. After about 10 kilometres, the favourites enter the Orchies sector, sector 13. Not the most complicated, but Mathieu van der Poel chooses to leave the rest of the peloton behind.
Here comes the attack. Mathieu van der Poel. He launched from about 5 riders back, and here he goes. The rainbow band. It is Mathieu van der Poel at 61 kilometres an hour.
A sharp attack and team tactics behind help to demoralise the pursuers who wish to chase. Vermeersch and Philipsen jump on any attack. Result, van der Poel takes more than a minute and a half in just 15 kilometres. You can sense the resignation among the chasers, even if in the Mons-en-Pavel sector a nice group forms with Pedersen, Philipsen, the 2 Groupama FDJ riders Kung and Pithy and Niels Pollitt combining. Entering the final 30 kilometres, Lawrence Pithy makes a mistake in a tight left-hander. The young New Zealander loses all hope of finishing in the top 5 as the chase groups slip away. Up front, Mathieu van der Poel tackles sectors 5 and 4, the Campfan-en-Pavel and the Carrefour de l'Arbre sequence with a considerable lead. More than 2 minutes 30 seconds advantage for the Dutchman, who makes it through this last big challenge without difficulty and heads straight towards the Paris-Roubaix double with around 15 kilometres of racing remaining. In the Groussens sector comes an attack from Philipsen, Van der Poel's teammate. Stefan Kung cracks. The Groupama FDJ squad will not be on the podium, which is starting to take shape. Niels Pollitt, not the fastest sprinter, may need to attack rather than face Philipsen and Pedersen. Meanwhile, Van der Poel has won the race.
Mathieu van der Poel comes round the final bend in the rainbow jersey as the winner of the 121st Paris-Roubaix, with the crowd absolutely on their feet. It is rainbows in Roubaix. Monumental Mathieu van der Poel wins his 2nd Paris-Roubaix. Here goes Niels Pollitt. Big acceleration from the German rider. Pedersen is getting on the wheel. Philipsen is about to strike on the outside. Niels Pollitt flat out now. Look at Jasper Philipsen looking for a way through. It's going to be 1-2 for Alpecin de Koenig. Pedersen in 3rd place. Pollitt in 4th.
Mathieu van der Poel takes the first double in Paris-Roubaix since Tom Bonen in 2008 and 9. The Dutchman gets a 6th career monument and can add an Amstel Gold to that. Out of the 5 races contested this year, he has taken 4 wins and a 2nd, with 10th behind Philipsen in Milan-San Remo, his lowest finish. Victory in Roubaix, a week after winning his 3rd Tour of Flanders following a 54-kilometre solo breakaway. This time it's a spectacular 60-kilometre lone raid.
It's hard to believe, actually. Again with the team, maybe even stronger than last year. I'm super proud of the boys, and yeah, I'm very happy to finish it off.
As last year, Mathieu van der Poel finishes 1-2 with teammate Jasper Philipsen, while Mads Pedersen takes third from Niels Pollitt, whose best result remains a second place in 2019. Groupama FDJ places 2 men in the top 10 with a promising 7th place for Lawrence Pithy in his first participation. Mathieu van der Poel remains the king of the cobbles again this year and will be in the running next year for an historic hat-trick, which has not been achieved since Francesco Moser completed his treble in 1980. With each passing race, van der Poel enhances his already legendary status in the sport.